Shedeur or Dylan?
Shedeur hands down, but Shedeur needs to let go of the ball every now and then. A lot of that is he's trying to make extra plays and stuff, but Shedeur all the way.
So behind the scenes, as a human being, he's doing a phenomenal job that way. And then he's working really hard. He's got a tremendous work ethic, and he's working really hard to pick up the things that he needs to, and that's all the pre-snap stuff. He's got to figure out how to call the play in the huddle, how to work on the protections and the motions and all of those things that happen pre-snap. Post-snap, he's doing great. I mean, he's got a really nice ball. He's got a really nice arm. He puts nice touch on it. He's very, very accurate, and I think he's earning more reps. I think they have to be really, really happy with what they're seeing with him.
Stop scrolling, because the war in Cleveland didn't just end today. It's been over for weeks, and the media has been lying straight to your face the entire time. Every talking head, every panel, every lazy headline tried to convince you there was a real quarterback controversy inside the Browns building. They pushed Dillon Gabriel as the future. They sold him as the safe option, the calm choice, the guy the organization trusted. But 5 minutes ago, Kay Cabot dropped the hammer, and that entire illusion collapsed instantly. Andrew Berry didn't just make a move. He didn't shuffle the depth chart. He didn't open a competition or send a quiet message. He cleared the house. Dillon Gabriel is gone, sold, traded, finished in Cleveland. That's not development. That's not patience. That's a declaration. Gone, traded, and the message couldn't be louder.
I think whoever put that clip out there the way that they did, I think that was disingenuous. I thought it was unfair to Dillon Gabriel.
Did, for the record. ESPN. And the NFL Network.
Schefter.
Guys, that's what they do. And that's who he's talking about, by the way. He's not talking about us. He's talking about the Adam Schefters of the world and the national reporters that are making this more than it is. That's what he's talking about. Now, I have to be perfectly honest here. I'm not convinced yet that he wasn't talking about Shedeur. I'm not. I don't know. He clarified it and said no.
Shedeur Sanders isn't just a rookie anymore. He isn't a backup, a project, or an experiment. As of this morning, he has real control over the direction of this franchise. The Browns didn't hedge their bets. They didn't protect themselves with insurance. They handed the keys of a $4.8 billion organization to the quarterback everyone once mocked. Now listen carefully, because the spin cycle has already started. Dillon Gabriel's agent is in full damage control mode. They're flooding the internet with fake rumors, vague narratives, and carefully planted excuses about why this happened. They want you focused on dysfunction. They want you questioning Cleveland. They want you distracted from the truth. And that truth is sitting right in the trade details. That's why this moment matters so much. If you don't pay attention now, the algorithm will gladly feed you the agent's version instead of reality. That's how careers get protected. That's how narratives flip. And that's how teams end up taking the blame while someone else walks away clean. Look at the contrast happening in real time. Dillon Gabriel started 6 games. 6! And now he's healthy, on the bench, watching his situation collapse in front of him, watching his future get reshaped without his consent. That's not injury. That's not bad luck. That's a decision made by the front office. Meanwhile, the player controlling the fate of this franchise is the one everyone laughed at. The one scouts called entitled. The one labeled too flashy. The one who fell all the way to pick 144 while 31 teams passed and looked the other way. The irony is brutal. And here's the part that should make your stomach drop. This is not just a depth chart change. This isn't a simple roster adjustment. This is a franchise standing on the edge of one of the most dangerous decisions in modern NFL history. Over the next 30 days, Cleveland has to decide whether to fully trust a 5th-round reject who suddenly looks like a savior, or panic, use 2 massive first-round picks on another quarterback, and burn the entire plan to the ground. Inside league circles, anonymous executives are already screaming that Cleveland is making a mistake. Some think the Browns are getting reckless. Others think they waited too long. Fans are split straight down the middle. Inside the building, the tension is thick enough to choke on. Every meeting matters. Every rep matters. Every whisper carries weight. To understand why this move feels so ruthless, you have to go back to where it all started. Draft day disrespect. April 26th, 2025. The NFL Draft. This was supposed to be the coronation of Shedeur Sanders, a player projected by some to go top 10, the son of a legend. A quarterback teams claimed they loved, but as the clock ticked, something felt wrong. The first round ended. No Sanders. The second round passed. Teams took linebackers, safeties, even kickers, and still nobody touched him. By the time the third round arrived, the silence was deafening.
Well, I think right now what everyone needs to realize is the Browns are continuing to bring Shedeur Sanders along. They're not punishing him. They're not stashing him away in some kind of room where nobody can see him. They're not doing wrong by Shedeur Sanders. They're bringing him along at the pace they feel he needs to be brought along at, but they're really excited about what they're seeing in Shedeur. And so they're not going to trade Shedeur away before they know what they have in him. They're excited about what they're seeing. And the thing that they're seeing the most is the thing that they've already known about him, and that is his elite accuracy. He's got a natural feel for the game in that way. So they're excited to see that, and it's probably going to happen at some point this season. I don't know when. Dylan's going to have to find a way to score some points to keep his job, but at some point, Shedeur is going to get a chance to go out there and show off that elite accuracy and do what he can do with this offense. But once again, I don't think it's going to be easy for anybody throwing passes to, this young and sort of inexperienced group right now.
Cleveland was on the clock at pick 94. A needy team, a falling star. It felt inevitable. And then the shock hit. The Browns passed again. They took Oregon's Dylan Gabriel. And just to drive the knife deeper, they passed on Sanders again in the fourth round to take a running back. That moment wasn't forgotten. It was stored, remembered, filed away. And now, months later, that same organization has flipped the entire board. This isn't luck. This isn't coincidence. This is a franchise correcting what it once thought was a genius move and betting everything on the quarterback they once disrespected. Finally, at pick 144 in the fifth round, the slide finally stopped. After hours of waiting, after round of silence, the Browns ended it. But by then, the damage was already done. The fall wasn't accidental. It wasn't about talent. It was about whispers. Quiet, vicious whispers that spread through front offices like poison. Anonymous scouts started leaking reports. They said Sanders was uncoachable. They said he was arrogant. They said he made people feel small in interviews. They questioned his attitude instead of his arm. They questioned his personality instead of his production. Somewhere along the way, the league convinced itself that character concerns outweighed the talent on film. What those scouts didn't realize is that they were laying the groundwork for one of the most embarrassing evaluations the NFL has seen in years. Because while teams were busy protecting themselves from a media circus, Cleveland thought they had outsmarted everyone with what would soon be called the Gabriel experiment. For the first half of the season, it looked smart on the surface. Dylan Gabriel was named the starter. He was older. He was mature. He had historic college numbers. He said all the right things. And most importantly to the league, he didn't bring the noise that followed the Sanders name. No headlines, no debate, no pressure. The Browns looked safe. They looked responsible. They looked like geniuses. But there was a problem that maturity could not hide. The tape didn't lie. Week after week, the offense looked lifeless. Predictable. Broken. We're talking about a unit ranked 32nd in the league in total QBR. Dead last. Not close. Dead last. Gabriel was smart, but he was physically limited. Under 6 feet tall, struggling to see over the line, struggling to push the ball downfield. His arm strength didn't scare anyone. Defenses sat on routes. Corners jumped throws. Safeties crept forward with zero fear. He couldn't drive the ball into tight windows. So the offense turned into a collection of short, safe, losing plays. Checkdowns on third and long. Screens with no space. Drives that died slowly instead of exploding quickly. The Browns were 1-5, bleeding out in public. And here's the brutal truth. Dylan Gabriel wasn't terrible. He was manageable. And in the NFL, manageable is the fastest way to lose your job and get a coaching staff fired. But the Browns stuck with him. They protected the plan. They ignored the warning signs. Until Baltimore, Week 11, on the road, against the Ravens, one of the most violent defenses in football. Late in the first half, the pocket collapsed. Gabriel took a crushing hit from multiple defenders and stayed down. The stadium went quiet. He was pulled from the game with a concussion. And in that moment, everything changed. Suddenly, Shedeur Sanders was thrown into the fire. No warning, no buildup, no safety net. And this part matters more than people admit. Sanders hadn't taken a single first-team rep in practice, not one. He was running scout team looks, mimicking opposing quarterbacks. And now he was being asked to run a game plan designed for Dillon Gabriel against an elite defense with zero preparation. That's not development. That's survival.
Really, really good job. Proud of you.
Cool.
Really, really nice job.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
kinda proud.
Look, for your flip side, it wasn't perfect, no, but you made plays, you operated, like, so it's just stacked.
I love when you tell the facts, dude. No, but it's okay. It's okay.
Listen, you did a nice job, okay? So just take what you learned from tonight, apply it to the joint practices, and then the next preseason game. All right?
You were the real player now. I'm gonna bring that sauce to you.
I know you will. I know you will. Really good job. That's a great start.
The result was exactly what the haters were waiting for. He completed 4 passes. He threw an interception. The Browns lost 23-6. The scoreboard told a simple story, and the media pounced instantly. See? This is why he fell. See? This is why teams passed. He can't play. He's not ready. The narrative was written within minutes. It looked like the end of the experiment before it even began. Another failed 5th-round pick. Another cautionary tale. But inside that disaster, Kevin Stefanski saw something nobody else wanted to acknowledge. He didn't see panic. He didn't see fear. He saw a quarterback thrown into chaos who didn't flinch, who didn't fold, who kept attacking even when everything was stacked against him. He saw a quarterback who didn't flinch. And what happened the very next week shut the critics up faster than anyone expected. This is where the resurrection really began. Kevin Stefanski did what most NFL head coaches are terrified to do. He made the unthinkable call. He named Shedeur Sanders the starter the following week against Las Vegas. No easing him in. No co-starter language. No safety net. And from the very first drive, the offense felt different. This wasn't the same cautious, shrinking unit fans had been watching bleed out every Sunday. Sanders wasn't just checking the ball down. He wasn't playing scared. He was attacking. Then came the throw that changed everything. A 66-yard touchdown launched downfield, dropped perfectly in stride. A throw Dillon Gabriel physically could not make, not because of intelligence, not because of preparation, because the arm strength simply wasn't there. That moment didn't just flip the game, it flipped the evaluation. Sanders navigated the pocket like he belonged there. He extended plays. He manipulated defenders with his eyes. He finished drives. The Browns won 24-10, and just like that, history was made. Shedeur Sanders became the first Browns rookie quarterback to win his debut start since the 1990s. That alone should have ended the debate, but that game was only the appetizer. Week 14 against the Tennessee Titans is where things went nuclear. Sanders didn't just play well. He detonated the stat sheet. 364 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing score, total control, total confidence. He joined Joe Burrow as the only rookie quarterback in NFL history to ever hit those exact numbers in a single game. Yes, the Browns lost a heartbreaker 31-29, but the scoreboard didn't matter anymore. The message was sent across the league loud and clear. This offense looked explosive. It looked dangerous. It looked alive. And the locker room felt it. Players started rallying around Sanders immediately. Veterans leaned in. Receivers stayed late. Energy changed. Jerry Jeudy, who had lived through a revolving door of quarterbacks, openly praised the chemistry he had with Sanders. Timing, trust, belief. The same kid scouts labeled uncoachable was suddenly commanding a professional locker room without saying a word. And that's where the real problem started. Because success creates pressure, and pressure forces decisions. Here's where the story turns cold and ruthless. December 9th. Dillon Gabriel was medically cleared. He passed the concussion protocol. He was 100% healthy and ready to reclaim his job. And in the NFL, there's an unwritten rule everyone knows. Starters don't lose their jobs because of injury. You get healthy, you get the ball back. Kevin Stefanski looked at that rule and threw it straight in the trash. He announced that Shedeur Sanders would remain the starter for the rest of the season. Think about how brutal that is. He wasn't saying Gabriel couldn't play medically. He was saying something far worse. He was saying you're not good enough anymore. Gabriel was benched permanently. The 3rd-round pick, the guy they invested in, the safe choice, the quarterback they trusted, all for the 5th-round pick they ignored for 4 rounds. That is a career-defining slight. That announcement told the rest of the league everything they needed to know. Cleveland had moved on after just 6 starts. No patience, no loyalty, no hesitation. But if you think Sanders is safe now, you're missing the real danger. Because the real threat isn't sitting on the bench, it's sitting in the draft room. Before we get there, the narrative needs to be corrected. People point at Sanders' 52% completion rate and say he's struggling. That's a lie told by spreadsheets. That's what happens when context gets erased. The reality is ugly. Sanders is playing behind an offensive line that looks like it's trying to get him killed. He's under pressure on nearly 50% of his dropbacks. That's the second worst rate in the entire NFL, trailing only Justin Herbert's nightmare situation. The run game is ranked 30th. Defenses know Cleveland can't run. They don't respect play action. They pin their ears back and attack. Sanders is operating inside a collapsing phone booth on nearly every snap, and he's still throwing for 300 yards. He's making throws with defenders draped all over him. He's delivering strikes while getting hit. He's creating offense where none should exist. These are throws Dylan Gabriel couldn't make from a clean pocket with time to breathe. That's the difference. That's why the room changed. He is elevating a broken roster. That is no longer debatable. What Shedeur Sanders is doing right now goes far beyond box scores and highlight clips. He is dragging an offense forward that has no run game, no protection, and no margin for error. In a fair league, that would be enough. In the cruel business of the NFL, performance alone might not save him. And that is the twist that keeps Sanders awake at night. Because while he's fighting for survival every Sunday, the Cleveland Browns are sitting on a ticking time bomb. 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft. 2! And one of those picks is projected to land inside the top 5. That's not just draft capital. That's leverage. That's temptation. That's franchise-altering power. That's where quarterbacks get erased. Top 5 territory is where teams draft the so-called golden boys, the clean prospects, the ones scouts fall in love with in conference rooms, the ones who show up to the combine and make decision-makers feel safe. That's where names like Jalen Mill or Quinn Ewers live. And history tells us something uncomfortable. When teams have access to that kind of pick, they almost always convince themselves to use it. That's the nightmare scenario. Sanders plays his heart out over the next 4 games. He keeps this offense alive. He shows growth, he shows grit, he shows leadership. He keeps Cleveland competitive when it has no business being competitive. And then the season ends. The cameras shut off, the noise fades, and the front office retreats into draft meetings. That's where the danger lives. Because staring at a top 5 pick changes people. Suddenly, patience feels risky. Suddenly, development feels slow. Suddenly, the 5th-round quarterback becomes a great story instead of a long-term plan. The Browns will tell themselves they have options. They could use that capital to build a super team around Sanders. They could fix the offensive line. They could add weapons. They could finally protect the quarterback who's already proving he belongs. Or they could reset the clock. They could draft a shiny new toy, a clean slate, a fresh contract, and quietly bury Sanders on the depth chart forever. No demotion announcement, no explanation. Just a slow fade into backup purgatory while the narrative shifts. That's how this league works. And that's why the next 30 days are about far more than wins and losses. This is not just a stretch run. This is a public audition. Every snap is evidence. Every throw is testimony. Every hit he gets up from is a reminder that this job might already be promised to someone else. Sanders isn't just playing defenses. He's playing math. He's playing draft boards. He's playing fear inside a front office that has been burned too many times to trust its own eyes. And Cleveland has a choice to make. Will they finally do the smart thing and build around the talent they fell into by accident? Will they trust what the tape is screaming instead of what the draft hype whispers? Will they break the cycle of overthinking, resetting, and starting over every 2 years? Or will they do the Browns thing? Will they convince themselves that potential is safer than proof? That tomorrow is always better than today? That the answer must come from the top of the draft instead of the quarterback already fighting for them every Sunday? The clock is ticking. Every week brings the decision closer. Every game raises the stakes. And this time, the whole league is watching to see whether Cleveland finally learns from its own history, or repeats it one more time.